If you thought the D4VD situation couldn't get darker, a stranger, or more stomach-dropping, buckle up, because the truth that just leaked makes the Kardashians look like a Girl Scouts bake sale. For 2 months, the world has been glued to this case, whispering, arguing, theorizing, and clutching their phones like they're holding the last lifeboat on the Titanic. And today, the investigation just flipped into a plot twist so insane it feels scripted by Netflix. Directed by Jordan Peele and edited by Lucifer himself. Because now, the authorities, the same authorities that kept swearing up and down that D4VD wasn't a suspect, are finally admitting what everyone already knew. Something sinister was happening behind the scenes. Suddenly, there's talk of freezers, mysterious nighttime trips, a second accomplice, and a cover-up so bold it makes you wonder who's pulling the strings in the shadows. Every clue, every lyric, every creepy music video shot that looked like a confession. Yeah, it's all circling back. And the worst part? This wasn't random. This wasn't sudden. This looks planned. Get comfortable. Because today, we dig into the truth they tried to bury and the secret D4V thought would never crawl back into the light. The internet wasn't ready. Nobody was prepared for the day the carefully crafted image of rising star David, the soft-spoken singer with sad boy melodies and aesthetic music videos, shattered like cheap glass. One day, he was the poster child of Gen Z heartbreak playlists. The next, he was the dark center of a case so twisted it made the Kardashians' Kyre 20-season family drama look like a mildly tense group text. And when the tragic story of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez broke, the world was rocked. Not confused. Not mildly shocked. Rocked. Because the girl wasn't just missing. She wasn't just connected to him. She was found in the trunk of his Tesla, turning the story into a horror film unfolding in real time. At first, the timeline felt unreal, like a plot twist nobody would dare write because it's too disturbing to fictionalize. A teen girl found deceased in the vehicle of a charting artist. A singer whose lyrics read like diary entries dipped in warning signs. A performer with music videos featuring eerie scenes that suddenly felt like confessions disguised as art. People weren't ready to believe it, but the signs were blinking in neon, screaming louder than sirens. And yet, somehow, the authorities weren't treating him as a suspect. Not even close. They tiptoed around his name like he was made of gold, wrapped in bubble wrap, protected by a $1 trillion insurance policy. Fans watched in disbelief as police insisted he was not of interest. Even though every breadcrumb, every witness, every detail pointed straight toward him. It felt like watching a magic trick performed in slow motion, where the magician trips, drops the cards, spills the secrets, but insists the illusion is still intact. Nothing made sense. As days passed, the truth only grew darker. Celeste wasn't just a random teen. She wasn't just someone who ended up in his trunk. She knew him. Her mother said she was dating a boy named David. Her teacher confirmed seeing them together. His neighbors confirmed it. The live stream footage confirmed it. Everything screamed the same story. He was involved with her, and it wasn't innocent. It wasn't casual. It wasn't friendly. It was predatory. The deeper investigators dug, the more sinister it became. First, the music video titled Celeste. Not symbolic. Not coincidental. Literally a song named after the girl. Then, the live video of the two together, a clip the internet replayed 1,000 times, each viewing making people angrier. Then, neighbors coming forward saying Celeste had been to his home. What started as a tragic mystery became a chilling case with more receipts than an IRS audit. But the world nearly short-circuited when the police doubled down on protecting him. With every new piece of incriminating evidence revealed online, the authorities kept repeating, "He isn't a suspect." The rage online hit volcanic levels. Everyone asked the same question: If this was an why regular person, would they still be walking free? The answer was obvious. The public wasn't stupid. They knew what wealth and connections looked like when they walked into a murder case wearing a designer suit. But then came the twist that cracked the internet in half. After 2 months of denial, the authorities finally admitted he is a suspect. Not only that, he hadn't been interviewed. He wasn't cooperating. And the LAPD suddenly revealed there was a second suspect. Someone linked to him, someone who took a nighttime trip with him in the Tesla, likely while Celeste's body was in the trunk. The same Tesla where she was later discovered. The same Tesla he took on tour. The same Tesla he left parked like a time bomb waiting to be found. Investigators claimed the Tesla's data, phone records, and location pings revealed a journey to a remote Santa Barbara area, a location that screamed body disposal attempt. But he didn't go through with it. Instead, he traveled with Celeste's body possibly for months before abandoning the car. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't chaotic. This had planning, calculation, and terrifying coldness written all over it. Then came the chilling detail that turned a disturbing story into a nightmare. Celeste's body appeared to have been frozen. Not metaphorically, literally. A medical examiner source told reporters the body showed signs of being preserved by freezing, meaning she may have been deceased long before her discovery. Her death could have occurred around the same time David released music videos showing a girl eerily resembling Celeste. Lifeless, staged, dressed in ritualistic symbolism. Suddenly, what fans thought was dark artistic aesthetic looked like a storyboard for a crime in his romantic homicide video. The Celeste look-alike lies on a bed in a white dress stained with blood, surrounded by candles. The imagery was chilling then, but after the news broke, it became unbearable. Occult symbolism, sacrificial motifs, innocence portrayed as martyrdom. And he filmed this years before she was found. Coincidence? To the average viewer, maybe. To anybody who understands symbolism and the entertainment industry's dark underbelly, it wasn't far-fetched at all. As the investigation deepened, more disturbing coincidences emerged. While Celeste's body waited to be discovered, David was on tour, performing with a literal casket on stage. Fans were asked to write letters to the dead. People thought it was edgy performance art. But once her body was found in his trunk, everything snapped into sickening clarity. This wasn't art. This was ritual. It was orchestration. It was storytelling through horrifying, real-life imagery. If he wanted to dispose of her remains, he had countless opportunities, but he didn't. He kept her close. He traveled with her. He ensured she'd be found only after the symbolism had peaked, when the performance aligned perfectly with the reveal. The internet didn't see a coincidence. They saw planning. They saw a timeline too perfect to be random. They saw a chilling display of control. And yet, even as the horror grew, something even darker appeared. There was an active cover-up when the coroner tried to release details. The LAPD instructed them to stay silent. The coroner's office refused. They exposed the truth. They said the body was partially frozen. They said fingerprints were waterlogged, which aligns with a thawing corpse. They said the LAPD's claims didn't match the evidence. The conflict between the LAPD and the medical examiner spilled into public view like a lid blown off a boiling pot. Someone was lying. Someone was protecting someone powerful. Someone was keeping secrets. And throughout all of this, the same question echoed across the internet like a heartbeat. Who is protecting David, and why? Because if everything was accidental, why hide? If everything was innocent, why freeze her? If everything was harmless, why the symbolism? If everything was misunderstood, why wasn't he arrested sooner? If everything was coincidence, why does every puzzle piece fit too perfectly? The truth wasn't just leaking, It was flooding. And the real story wasn't just about a tragic death. It was about the layers of lies wrapped around it like armor. The industry ties shielding him, the occult undertones, the timeline manipulation, the staged imagery, and the grim possibility that the world wasn't watching a crime unfold. They were watching a ritual executed from start to finish, the moment the authorities finally admitted that David was a suspect. The internet didn't just react, it exploded like someone dropped a live grenade into a crowded group chat. People had already been side-eyeing the investigation for months, and now they felt justified. Memes started flying faster than TMZ alerts, and everyone collectively screamed, "Oh, now he's a suspect." After the whole body in your trunk situation, it felt like watching a detective show where the cops solve the case. 40 episodes after the audience already guessed the killer in episode 1. Influencers, podcasters, conspiracy creators, and Twitter detectives all clocked in for overtime. They treated the case like a digital season of True Detective. TikTok edition. Every clip, every lyric, every live stream resurfaced with new intensity. People were breaking down his music videos frame by frame like they were decoding ancient hieroglyphics. Someone even posted a slow-motion analysis of his romantic homicide video, narrating it like a National Geographic documentary on predators in the wild of Hollywood. But the biggest shockwave came from the rumor about the second suspect. The idea that David didn't act alone instantly turned the case into a Hollywood thriller. The internet started casting imaginary actors. Some said it felt like a sequel to Gone Girl, written by someone on energy drinks. Others said it felt like a darker version of You, but with a Tesla doing all the stalking. People were obsessed. They wanted names. They wanted faces. They wanted answers that the authorities kept hiding, like trade secret recipes. When news broke that David and the mystery accomplice drove to Santa Barbara in the middle of the night, social media went into meltdown mode. The public immediately compared it to every sinister road trip movie ever made, except this one was allegedly real, terrifying, and way too specific. People asked why any normal person would drive into the darkness with a trunk full of secrets unless they were planning something horrific. Theories started multiplying like TikTok dance challenges. Some said they went to dump the body. Others thought the accomplice was helping him stage something ritualistic. And a few predicted the accomplice was someone shockingly close to him. Maybe a friend, a collaborator, even someone in his inner circle. What made everything scarier was the detail about Celeste's body showing signs of being frozen. That revelation didn't just add suspicion. It took the story from tragic to chilling. The internet immediately made comparisons to every horror movie villain who keeps their victims preserved like trophies. It felt like something out of a psychological thriller where the killer is always 3 steps ahead of the authorities. People said the police weren't dealing with a clueless criminal, but someone executing a twisted plan with disturbing precision. And then, suddenly, the police tried to deny the frozen body claim, which only made things messier. When authorities start contradicting medical examiners, Twitter loses its mind. Commenters said the whole situation was giving FBI versus CDC versus Pentagon, but make it messy. Nobody trusted the police explanation because it sounded like the kind of denial people give when they're desperately trying to avoid a scandal. And once TMZ reported that the coroner's source confirmed the body was partially frozen, the internet didn't just drag the authorities, they bulldozed them. People said the LAPD was acting like David's personal security team. Others joked that they must be subscribed to his Patreon the way they kept protecting him. Conspiracy communities went feral. Some claimed record labels were involved. Some said political elites were pulling strings. And a few swore this case reeked of occult symbolism that had been hiding in plain sight for years. That's when David's music videos resurfaced again, this time under a harsher spotlight. Clips of the romantic homicide video flooded TikTok with captions like "This wasn't art. This was a blueprint." People pointed out the white dress, the candles, the ritualistic setup, the eerie stare. The lifeless girl, everything that suddenly mirrored the real-life tragedy. One TikTok detective even made a side-by-side comparison between the video and the crime scene notes that allegedly leaked. It gained millions of views in hours. The eerie accuracy freaked everyone out. Meanwhile, David's controversial stage props, the casket, the notes to the dead, the funeral imagery became the internet's obsession. People labeled it a live ritual performance disguised as a tour. Fans said they felt sick, realizing they unknowingly participated in a symbolic Ruri funeral while the victim was possibly still in his trunk. That revelation rattled the entire fan base. Some deleted his music. Some vowed never to attend concerts again. And some refused to believe any of it, clinging to the idea that it was all coincidence. But the emergence of the frozen body detail sent everything into overdrive. People were comparing David's alleged behavior to cult horror classics, claiming the symbolism lined up with occult rituals. Every post on social media started reading like a dystopian. Reddit thread written at 3 a.m. Fans said the case reminded them of musicians who allegedly got tangled in dark industries that promised fame for disturbing sacrifices. Whether true or not, the internet believed every word because the timing felt too precise, when news broke that authorities were pressuring the coroner to withhold information. Things escalated again. It was the kind of move that instantly destroys public trust. People compared it to massive cover-ups in history, saying everything felt designed to protect someone with power. And once the autopsy leak mentioned waterlogged fingers, social media basically turned into a courtroom. Viewers argued, theorized, and accused the authorities of rewriting the narrative so the blame wouldn't fall where it belonged. Talcom sections turned savage. Some said the police were lying through their teeth. Some said this was Hollywood politics in action. Others said this case proved the justice system treats celebrities like VIP customers at an exclusive club. The more the authorities contradicted themselves, the more convinced the public became that the truth was being buried under layers of PR damage control. While this digital chaos erupted, David's silence only made things worse. He didn't defend himself. He didn't make public statements. He didn't express grief. Instead, he carried on like business as usual, posting, performing, and pretending nothing happened. Fans called it chilling. Critics called it manipulative. And conspiracy theorists called it evidence of a deeper agenda. Influencers started creating timelines showing how perfectly his music releases aligned with key dates in the investigation. They pointed out hidden references in his lyrics that suddenly sounded like confessions once the details of Celeste's death became public. They dissected his interviews, claiming his facial expressions looked too rehearsed. They slowed down the live stream he did with Celeste and analyzed his tone, posture, and movements like forensic psychologists. By this point, the scandal didn't feel like one incident. It felt like an entire iceberg of secrets, floating under an ocean of unanswered questions. Every discovery fueled another theory. Every contradiction created new suspicion. And every revelation pushed the public further into the belief that something far darker was happening behind the scenes. The frenzy wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about unmasking the truth behind a tragedy twisted into a spectacle. And the more people dug, the more they believed this story wasn't ending anytime soon. The aftermath of this investigation didn't simply rattle the internet. It detonated across every corner of social media like a scandal-shaped meteor. Once the authorities finally admitted David was a suspect, the world paused, blinked, and collectively asked the same question: why now? For months, they denied everything, dismissed every clue, ignored every sign, and protected the one man at the center of the storm. But the moment they slipped, it felt like the truth finally cracked through the surface, forcing everyone to reevaluate what they thought they knew. The revelation about a second suspect created panic, confusion, and a fresh wave of conspiracy theories. People speculated the accomplice was someone close, someone trusted, someone who knew exactly how to help David move a body in the dead of night. The mysterious trip to Santa Barbara became a symbol of everything wrong with the story. A haunting midnight journey with a frozen body in the trunk. A road trip more chilling than any horror movie trailer. And the worst part? The accomplice hadn't been named. That anonymity made the public uneasy. As if a shadow figure was lurking somewhere, watching, waiting, connected to a crime nobody could fully piece together. The allegation that Celeste's body had been frozen was the final straw. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't a moment of panic. That wasn't someone hiding evidence for a few hours. Freezing a body requires planning, resources, and intent. The kind of chilling preparation that turns a tragedy into something far more calculated. When the medical examiner's connected source doubled down that the remains were partially thawed, the internet spiraled. People felt sick, shocked, betrayed. Everything about the case suddenly made sense in the darkest possible way. David's music videos fueled the fire even more. Fans replayed them obsessively, analyzing every candle, every glance, every blood-stained scene, every cold stare he gave the Celeste look-alike. Symbols that once looked artistic now felt incriminating. Lines that once seemed poetic suddenly read like warnings. The public couldn't ignore the parallels anymore. It was all too specific, too eerie, too perfectly aligned with reality. Every frame of romantic homicide became a potential puzzle piece in a crime no one wanted to believe was real. As commentary exploded across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, the internet called out the obvious. The authorities were protecting someone they shouldn't. The way they insisted the body wasn't frozen contradicted their own medical examiner's internal notes. The waterlogged fingers, the suspiciously delayed investigation, the sudden refusal to release autopsy details, it all made the situation reek of influence, power, and pressure from unseen forces behind the scenes. People weren't just angry at David anymore. They were furious at an entire system willing to bend backward to shield him. Meanwhile, David stayed silent. Not a word, not a post, not a sign of remorse. His absence felt like another confession. Fans claimed he was hiding because he was guilty. Critics argued he was being advised to stay quiet by powerful handlers. Conspiracy theorists speculated he was being groomed for something bigger, something darker, and Celeste was the price he paid along the way. No matter the angle, every theory led back to the same conclusion. Nothing about this tragedy added up naturally. As more information surfaced, people started revisiting interviews, old live streams, background clips, and hidden moments that now felt disturbingly significant. Any sign of discomfort around David suddenly felt like evidence. Any awkward laugh, any forced smile, any strange comment became part of a growing narrative online. The internet started treating him like a villain written into a show, except this wasn't scripted. This was real. A child had lost her life, and the world refused to let the truth be swept away. The idea that David staged his music tour like a ritual sent shockwaves across every platform. The casket setup, the letters to the dead, the eerie themes, people couldn't ignore the symbolism anymore. It wasn't artistic coincidence. It felt like foreshadowing. It felt like a twisted performance doubling as a confession. Fans who once supported him began deleting playlists, taking down posters, and making tearful videos saying they could no longer separate the art from the artist. The most heartbreaking part of the entire aftermath was Celeste's family. Her mother's voice in early interviews resurfaced and went viral again because people suddenly understood the magnitude of what she had been fighting. She tried warning others. She tried calling out the predator behind her daughter's disappearance, but nobody listened. When a celebrity is involved, people are quicker to defend the fame than the victim. Now, the world was finally waking up to what she had been screaming from the start. As suspicion grew, people started questioning the second suspect's identity. Was it another musician? A manager? A friend? Someone on David's team? Someone tied to the record label? Theories spread like wildfire. People insisted the accomplice had to be someone with access to technology, security systems, and enough knowledge to help cover tracks. That added layer of secrecy made the case feel like part of something much larger, something orchestrated, something terrifyingly organized. In the midst of all this chaos, David's loyal fans fought desperately to protect him. They argued that the coincidences were just coincidences. They said the videos were symbolic. They said the live streams were harmless. But with every new detail dropping, their defenses weakened. Even the most dedicated supporters couldn't rationalize why someone innocent would freeze a body store it for months and then leave it in their own trunk like a message waiting to be found. The truth was impossible to ignore. As public anger reached its peak, the conversation shifted from "Is he guilty?" to "Why hasn't he been arrested?" That question alone fueled outrage online. Millions of comments accused the police of corruption, negligence, or interference. Videos calling out the justice system went viral overnight. Activists began demanding transparency, the release of autopsy details, and accountability. People stood up, not just for Celeste, but for every vulnerable girl whose story had been ignored. Because the perpetrator was too famous, too powerful, or too connected. As the investigation evolved, pressure from the public became relentless. The media could no longer ignore the inconsistencies. News outlets began asking harder questions. Legal experts started analyzing every conflicting detail. Former detectives spoke on panels discussing why the timeline made no sense. Suddenly, there was no place left for the truth to hide. The spotlight wasn't just on David anymore. It was on everyone who delayed justice. But even with the world united in fury, one reality hung over the case like a warning. The truth still wasn't fully out. There were still secrets buried beneath the surface. There were still people protecting him. There were still unanswered questions about the timeline, the accomplice, the freezing, the rituals, and the motives. And until every piece came to light, the world would remain haunted by what happened to Celeste. This wasn't the conclusion to a mystery. It was the beginning of a reckoning. A reckoning with power, fame, manipulation, and the terrifying lengths some will go to maintain their image. The investigation may be ongoing, but one thing is certain: nothing about this case will remain hidden forever. The truth is a force that refuses to stay buried. And when the final truth emerges, the fallout will shake everything. And if you're still sitting here with your jaw on the floor, trust me, you're not alone. This entire situation feels like the universe just dumped a full conspiracy box straight onto the table and said, "Good luck, babes." Because the deeper we dig into this D4VD and Celeste revelation, the darker it gets. And you already know the internet is about to explode once the next piece of evidence slips through the cracks. This is the kind of scandal that doesn't just shake the room. It kicks the door down, flips the lights, and screams surprise like a deranged birthday party. But before the next twist drops out of nowhere, do what needs to be done. Smash that like button like it owes you rent money. Hit subscribe like you're slapping the truth out of a lying ex. And drop a comment telling me what you think is really going on behind closed doors, because half of y'all switched theories 5 times during this video. Don't lie. This story is evolving faster than Hollywood scandals during award season. Your likes keep this channel alive. Your comments keep the investigation spicy. Your subscription guarantees you don't miss the next digital earthquake when it hits. Because over here, scandals don't sleep. Secrets don't stay buried. And lies crack under the pressure of receipts, screenshots, leaked files, and a whole lot of messy energy. If you blink, you miss a plot twist. If you scroll away, you miss the truth. So stick around. Stay locked in. Stay ready. This is where the stories get louder, darker, and way too real for the mainstream to handle. Welcome to the Rap Truth, where every secret eventually slips. Every lie gets exposed, and every scandal hits harder than the last.